Around the world, on May 1st, every May 1st, millions of men and women and children flood the streets of towns and cities, waving flags and joyously hurling songs to the sky, laughing, marching, chanting, cheering. All over the globe, masses of people join for one day across national, racial, religious, and linguistic boundaries to celebrate the greatest of the supranational secular holidays, International Workers' Day. And they will have this global celebration of working class pride everywhere, except in the United States. Which, of course, is ironic since May Day, as a workers' holiday, was created as a celebration of the struggle of the American workers. See, International Workers' Day is a commemoration of the Haymarket Massacre in Chicago in 1886, when Chicago police fired on and killed workers during a general strike for the 8-hour workday, the resulting riot, and to memorialize the execution of 4 anarchists sentenced to death for not successfully discouraging somebody they didn't know from throwing a bomb. But that's it. I mean, for all the left-hating, red-baiting nutbags who enjoy the benefits of their 8-hour workday, May Day commemorates the leftists who died protesting for it. But the real question is, well, why is it so ignored here, in the land that inspired it? In fact, our government went so far in 1958 as to declare May 1st National Loyalty Day, which makes anyone officially participating in a Workers' Day rally a disloyal American. Yes, Republicans and Democrats, the very people who say they celebrate the hard-working Americans, went that far to divorce hard-working Americans from the international holiday that celebrates them. I mean, you'd think they were trying to avoid the concept of the working class. Working class? It means you work for a living. That's all. I mean, to pay your bills, you have to have a job. As opposed to those who could, if they chose to, live on their investments, inheritance, or income property. If you could do that, if your money, or capital, could provide you with a reasonable living, you would be a capitalist. See, that's what the word means. A lot of people think capitalist means hard work. But actually it means the opposite. It specifically means they don't have to work at all. That's the goal. Capitalist means that somewhere in some office or some coal mine or some coffee shop or some factory somewhere, someone else is working hard so that the capitalist investments will pay dividends. That's how they make their money, from their capitalist investments on somebody else's work. Now, some capitalists do work very hard, but they don't have to in order to keep a roof over their heads or food on the table. They do it to accumulate even more money, even more capital. If, however, you must work, if you are someone else's employee in order to pay your bills, you are a worker. Like if you own a business which you must work at to cover the basic living expenses, you're a worker-owner. If you own your labor and can take it from place to place to place, like an actor or a gardener or a plumber, well, you're an artisan worker. Independent contractor? Worker. Doctor, lawyer, butcher, baker, crotchless, lacy panty maker, worker. Even the cops that beat up strikers for striking are themselves workers, while simultaneously being the foot soldiers of capitalist and fascist oppression. Worker. The vast majority of Americans? Workers. You are a worker if you must work so that someone else will pay you, whereby you can afford the necessities of life. But Americans have been shamed into believing that an admission of belonging to the working class is tantamount to admitting failure, that workers are only workers because they're not willing to try harder to succeed. They aren't upwardly mobile, and that anyone who confesses to being a proud member of the working class is evidently too stupid to get rich in the land of easy plenty. Now, and if you listen closely, you'll notice that very few politicians of either party even talk about the working class anymore. What they talk about is the middle class, a term that doesn't even have an agreed-upon definition. Why? Because it's a fiction. It's an invention created to divide the workers by getting some to identify with the boss upstairs rather than their co-worker on the line. Middle class is just a worker with a bigger debt and who has been brainwashed into thinking that belonging to the working class somehow a bad thing. And because they control the media and the political machinery, this message from the capitalists that being a worker is something to be ashamed of, that the boss is your best friend, that the union is the enemy, That it is somehow better and somehow nobler to dream of individual riches than identify with your fellow workers and to strive to improve the lot of your entire class. That's the message we see in every paper, on every station, emblazoned on every billboard and across the web. Forget that you're just a few paychecks from ruin. Forget that any power and protection you do have comes not from the kindness of your boss, but from the hard-earned labor victories. Forget that you have more in common in actual needs with workers from around the world than you have with any member of the American capitalist aristocracy. Please just forget all of that. Just do not identify with the working class. Oh, and for those who say that this all smacks of socialism, well, socialism simply means that the workers should control the means of production, that the wealth of the nation should benefit the working class first, and one person, one vote. That's it. Anything else you hear about it is just lies and from dictators and would-be dictators who are trying to use the word to fool people. And I'm not saying that capitalists have no place in a vibrant economy. I mean, they make great luxuries. But we have been convinced by these bejeweled incubi that we would be nothing without them. That profit and riches are the noblest objects of pursuit. That worker equals stupid. And that a united working class is the greatest threat to freedom since, well, forever. Until we can once again proudly stand up and say we are members of the working class, we will always be prey to the machinations of those who would use us. We will be swayed by the propaganda that separates us, divided by those who fear us, and scattered by those who know that the workers, united, cannot be defeated. So, workers, celebrate this day and admit that most frightening of things, that you are in the working class. Give yourself permission to rejoice in yourself and your fellow workers. Find joy in unity and reject the lie that you and your fellow workers you organize is somehow your worst nightmare. Only the enemies of the workers would despise a united working class, just as the enemies of democracy despise free and fair elections. So here, in the birthplace of May Day, where countless workers benefit from the blood and struggle of countless workers before them, here, where we have daily evidence from executive bonuses to foreclosures, mega mansions to homelessness, golden parachutes to offshored factories, to collapsing mines, to oil spills, of the greed of the elite and the misery it causes. Here, where that same elite have convinced so many of us that when times get tough, it is the organizations of the workers that are to blame. That when a factory moves overseas, it's the unions, the workers, it's your fault, rather than their own insatiable greed. And finally, here, where a century of fighting for safer, fairer working conditions and an empowered working class have given us workers who obediently denigrate those who fight for them and identify with the rich. Here is where we need May Day the most. So, this May Day, be revolutionary. At least once, say to someone, even if that person is yourself, I'm a worker. And I'm proud of it. Cast off the brainwashing that denies that you are that highest and noblest of persons, a citizen worker. This May Day, take pride in the fact that you live by your own skill, talent, brains, and or brawn. Be glad you don't benefit from underpaying your workers, offshoring a factory, or from somebody else's sweat or somebody else off of somebody else's brow. Be glad that you're not a mere capitalist living parasitically off others. This May Day and every May Day after, be proud you are a worker. Just saying. Happy International Workers' Day.